I actually thought at one stage there that we were all dead.
We didn't know where we could go because everywhere else was on fire.
Yeah, we were in a state of shock for quite some time.
A couple of times while having tea, I just broke down and I'd cry, and I don't even know why.
Pallets and pallets of pink eyes, red rascals, purple sapphires and Nicolas sit on this hill north of Denali in southeast Tasmania. It's the latest harvest of gourmet potatoes from 166 hectares farmed for the Dailies. A state-of-the-art processing factory and the Dailies' home look over this coastal view. Just over the ridge, a hill covered in dead trees gives a hint of the fire trauma this picturesque landscape has gone through.
It came right to this edge of this bush, and that's where we actually were able to stop it. But in saying that, it was right, in the tops of the trees, and I actually thought at one stage there that we were all dead.
On January 4th, 2013, Tasmania's worst bushfire in 45 years raced through this region, razing homes, sheds and fences, and killing livestock. Along the top boundary of this potato property, there's burnt and melted farm machinery. After 25 years of farming, the Dailies almost lost it all, but luck was on their side. The fire skirted this property and raced towards the seaside town of Denali.
It was like lava when it actually went down through the main front of the fire, and it was just horrendous to watch, knowing that it was headed towards Denali and there was nobody that was ever going to stop it.
More than 100 homes in the area were destroyed by fire. 9 businesses were severely damaged. Many of them were significantly underinsured. The town lost its main employers, the local timber mill and an onshore abalone farm. It was a sobering time for the Daly family and a turning point for their business.
In one way, the fire for us made us take stock and look at what we were doing, and it made me a bit more determined to try and grow to create employment. And with the new projects that we're looking at, it can only but create employment.
When another vegetable processor dropped a supermarket contract for fresh, washed potatoes, the Dailies picked it up. The business expanded rapidly, taking on new staff and recruiting local sheep farmers to plant potatoes on virgin ground.
I've put in irrigation infrastructure and dams, and we've got really good relationship with all of those, and it works really, really well, and we leave a lot of fertiliser behind in their paddocks, which grows them good grass. It gives us our 4-year rotation when we're actually in such a big way, and I'm pleased to say that every one of those farmers is instrumental to this business working.
The operation now runs 52 weeks of the year. Thousands of tonnes of potatoes are grown year-round in different climatic areas. Today, 8 workers are processing nearly 30 tonnes of potatoes from farms on the east coast of Tasmania.
Here at Bangor, 5th generation farmers Matt and Vanessa Dunbabin watched helplessly as the town burnt. They were trapped. They had fire in front and they had fire behind. About a third of the property went up in flames. They lost sheep, they lost fences and they lost sheds. Amazingly, the homestead and the vineyard survived.
The fire burnt over the top of the vineyard and all around. It was totally black. We lost plants around the edge and all the irrigation infrastructure in our vineyard, shed and equipment and everything. But luckily the plants themselves had been watered and they were wet and green, and miraculously it's still there.
The patch of green vines left amongst thousands of hectares of scorched black earth became very important to them.
It's very symbolic of our hope for the future, seeing this little patch of green amongst a sea of black.
Nearly 2 years on, the Pinot Noir, Pinot Gris and Chardonnay vines are flourishing. Another hectare of new plants is going in. Perched above the vineyard, their new cellar door and oyster bar is almost ready for an official opening. It's the result of a post-fire union with another local family, oyster farmers Tom and Alice Gray. For Alice Gray, January the 4th was the worst day. She sat in the ocean with her young son for hours, not knowing where her husband was.
The worst thing was we knew that the houses around us were exploding because we could hear gas cylinders, and boats would come around and say, "Can we take you somewhere?" But we didn't know where we could go because everywhere else was on fire.
Nearly 2 years on, Alice and Tom Gray are excited about the future. With the Dunbabins, they've invited a handful of locals for a pre-opening sample of the food, wine and cider that will be on offer at this new Dunalley venture.
Matt rang me up and said, oysters go all right with wine, don't they? And I went, yep. He said, well, why don't we do it? And it was as simple as that.
More than $25 million in state, federal and public donations has been paid out to the 2013 Tasmanian bushfire victims and their local communities. More than $200,000 has helped these two families make their dream possible. For them, their new direction is a world away from the trauma of January 2013.
Back. Go back.
Sheep farmer Jason Thornbury works between two properties, a merino stud close to Hobart and this wool and mutton operation at the least 1,600 hectare Fulham property at Dunalley. Their fine wool fleeces have always been sought after by buyers. In 2012, just a couple of months before the fires, they were showing some of their best merino sheep to the visiting Prince of Wales, Prince Charles. Soon after the royal visit, the fires swept through the property. They lost 1,500 of the prized merino flock. The young farmer had tried vainly to save them, moving the animals across the property in 50-degree heat before being evacuated himself.
I was pretty much by myself and my 3 dogs, and I came back to the house here and could see that they were preparing to fight it, and I went up the back and I radioed through on my phone to say it's coming over the hill, and they said no, it's already here, they were fighting it, and I couldn't believe it because it's a long way from the fire front.
It was another 3 days before police allowed him back to the property. It was a devastating sight. The ground was black. Hundreds of sheep were either dead or injured. Jason Thornbury spent 4 days destroying them.
Sometimes when I come home and tea time, a couple of times while having tea, I just break down and I'd cry, and I don't even know why. It just would get to you. But now that's all gone, and we're sort of really pushing forward to try and get our numbers back up to, 6,000-7,000.
Down the road at Boomer Bay, the Schwenkies lost all their land-based oyster farming equipment in the fires. They were in Hobart when the blaze went through their area. By the time they got back to the farm a few days later, there was little left.
It's crap, isn't it? Absolutely crap.
But we will rebuild.
Yes. It's all gone through the fire, unfortunately. Yeah, it's pretty devastating. It's 14 years of work down the drain, and very well underinsured, unfortunately, because nobody ever expected the magnitude of fire to come through here like it has.
How do you feel now when you look back at it and see how you've gone over 18 months?
It's been a long 18 months, but in some ways it hasn't. It was very traumatic to start with. We were in a state of shock for quite some time. But I guess with the way the community rallied around us, the way that the volunteers came in and helped us, that was amazing. The people that just came out and just said, what can we do?
A line has been drawn in the sand for many who experienced one of Tasmania's worst bushfire seasons. There's a new bakery, a new police station and plans for a new permanent school. While there's a few for sale signs on land and homes in the area, there's also new houses and buildings. It seems that many in this battle-scarred seaside town of Denali are determined to keep moving forward, and wool, potatoes, oysters and wine look set to be a big part of this region's future.
There was before the fires, and then after the fires everything was different, and that has led us towards starting this new business, which is so exciting for the future. It's a whole new direction for us, and I can't wait personally for it all to begin.